to your class. Drop down now. Where's this guy from? Fuck.
I'm saying German.
Say it again. You need to say it 3 times.
That is over here.
It's good, Ian. Come on, guys. Come closer. Not you. Move away. Who has not been at my class yesterday? Please raise up your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So there may be 1 or 2 things that are a little harder because we're gonna build off of it a little. But if you have any problems, just get me, right? So what we're gonna go over is the integration of leg entanglements and wrestle ups. And it's a really, really important topic because the current guard meter in no-gi is wrestle ups and leg entanglements, right? And you need both, and they both work really well together. So you can switch off between those, right? And wrestling up will make your wrestling standing better. So you have a big trade-off in different things. So it's a win-win situation for you. And people feel way more comfortable start wrestling up from the ground than standing. So it's a good way to start wrestling as well. Because there's a big overlap in like the hand fighting, the shots, the positions afterwards are the same. So it pretty much is the same thing, right? Instead of wrestling down, you wrestle up. Same stuff, okay? So we're gonna start with how to wrestle up after sweeps. Because if you use leg entanglements to sweep, you need to be able to come up. Okay, so what people used to do is, if I have Billy here, they just use a sweep, whatever, and Billy just accepts the position and now we're gonna come up and now it's looking at the clock, 1, 2, 3 points, yes. Right, that's not how it works anymore. And that's never how it worked in MMA. People will not just fall on their butt and stay. And believe me, you cannot keep both legs controlled to prevent the snap if they really don't want to. They're gonna kick out, they're gonna, run away. So after every sweep, you need to be able to wrestle up. And that includes leg entanglements that you use for sweeps, right? Otherwise, you're gonna break the hip down and then you're gonna lose them. Exert a lot of energy and nothing comes out of it. So you need to be able to do that, right? So, if Bill is sitting here and he has inside position, we have a couple of stages. Like the first stage is our hips are square to each other, right? And while I free one leg, we're still relatively square. The next one is I start to come up, right? And I'm sideways, I'm staggered. Most of the time I'm still on my knee in that stage. And the last stage is I keep standing up and maybe even turning away more. To just run away, strip the grip, do whatever, right? And we need to have an answer for every stage. And we're gonna start with the first one, okay? So, if you don't feel comfortable, use the double ankle sweep, right? So, what we're gonna do is, we're just gonna scoot in, move a level so you don't crack my phone with your butt. We're just gonna start here. Sit up, that's it. But if you feel comfortable, you do that out of ashi, right? So, you can use an actual entry or just the gravity drill we did yesterday, right? You can do it with both legs, right? Unbalance, kick him back, get back into position, and bring him down, right? Now the clue is, see I have my position if I want a leg lock. If I want to get up right away, I may be inclined to pull that leg out while we fall. Because there's a point of no return for him where he definitely needs to fall. And while he falls, I'm gonna just push that leg out and I can heist up right away, right? So you need to take that into account. But if you have problems, as I said before, just drop the hip down and that's the end of it, right? So once I've dropped it down, my partner is gonna free a leg. If I had ashi before in this leg, he's probably gonna free this one, right? Because I have this one controlled better. So if he frees this one, I need to start heisting up. He still has relative square hips. He hasn't come up yet. So I need to heist forward, get my head in position, and start going in for body locks and tight waists. From here, I push forward. Sometimes I can hand assist to put him on his back. I have a tight waist, I have a knee wedge, and from here, he's not running away. Sometimes, if people are really savvy, they're still gonna heist because they still have a post here and they have a post there if I have not taken it away. So it can be a good idea to force half guard off of it. And then we're back at my first class, forcing half guard, right? Because when we're just here and he still has those posts, he may be inclined to heist up all the way, right? And I still need the west. If I'm good at that, that's fine. If not, that's not what I want, right? So I may be inclined to not just start coming forward, but try to pressure into half guard. And from here, if he tries to pull it out, it's way harder because I have it controlled in some sort of way. Sometimes they even accept the half guard because they think, oh, at least I get half guard. With good people, that tends not to happen that much anymore because they just know it's a bait. But it can be a good idea to force half guard, right? After wrestle ups and takedowns, of course. That's one of the reasons why JT Torres likes the inside trip arm drag, because he has the leg control afterwards. He doesn't need to deal with heisting that much. Do you get my point? So, once again, when we start here, we've broken the hip down, he's freeing one leg, I don't stay here. I heist up right away and get my tight waist or my body lock. And I need to heist forward. You see he has a post there, so I'm pushing him flat back. And I have good position, either with the tight waist or the body lock. And we're exactly where we were on Saturday. Got it? If you cannot keep control of the hip, he's gonna run away. Right? Does anybody need to see it again? So do it slow at the beginning, and if it works out well, you can practice it with time. Sooner or later, you have to practice with time. But if you're still thinking about the technique and fluid motion, don't start with timing training. Does that make sense? You need to be able to heist, right? Let's say my partner has Ashi on this side. I cannot heist up this way, right? I can only heist up this way, right? Does that make sense for you? So, when we're here, wait, sit down. When we're here, he has both hands control, and I kick one out. There's no incentive for me to go that way because he still has control, right? So I need to go the other way. I need to go this way. So it's important for you to understand which way to go. Because if you try to run away and you do the wrong side first, you've lost the battle. Because you're too far behind if you do it like that. So keep that in mind, right? So for the side that he has Ashi on, it's just most of the time he has a deep over rep. If he's playing with that, there's different controls of course, but go with a deep over rep from the get-go. And he's not gonna bring that leg back easily. So he will kick out the other one and he will move that way. I'll show you what I mean. So when we're here, and I have this, there's no way for him to heist that way, even if he gets that leg back. But he can turn the other way and kick this one out. So he knows in which direction to go, or he needs to know in which direction to go. Otherwise, it feels awkward to practice it. And then you end up in crossing sides and stuff like that. If you drop people onto their hips and you keep Ashi, it's not the same thing anymore, okay? Because there's a difference in between coming here or landing here. That's not the same thing, right? Because you're not able to pummel out unless you switch your sides. This is it's a later stage. It's not the same thing, right? That's why I said start here if you have problems. Does that make sense for you? So if you don't pummel the leg out, it's not the same thing anymore. And you need to keep that in mind, right? So if you need to hold your position longer to break people onto their hips, meaning you have to hold ashi longer. You cannot skip a step and pummel your foot out because you've got both legs, for example, right? The follow-up attack changes. It's not the same thing anymore. Does that make sense for you? So now, let's just move a step back so you can really get it down. What I want to do is, I'm gonna heist up, forward, right? I bring my forehead onto his chest, and I'm gonna staple while I start body locking. That's the position I want to end up in, right? That's where we're going right now, right? So, inside position, he kicks one leg out. I follow. See, my head is on the other side if he turns. That's not what we're doing, because we're not square yet. So, is he square? Like, this one is away, he's square. Is he turning? Different. He's heisting up to a knee. Standing up, it's not the same thing. And you need to adjust accordingly. It's everything of those things is very tightly related. It's very close to each other. But that's the first thing you need to look at. He has pummeled the foot out. I don't have it. How is his hip positioned? And you need to get a feel for that. So don't too much. Square hips. We're here. My partner hasn't done anything. Come on. Get in position. That's all I'm asking you to do right now. That was way better. Simple. Right? Any questions regarding that? So, does it make sense for you why that is important? Understanding the why is always important because it just sticks better. If you don't understand why you do something, you might as well forget it, right? So we don't want that. So now, same thing. He's on the floor. Now, he starts turning and he heists this up, right? I can do the same get up, now with the head to the outside. And now, I could body lock if I wanted to. But then we play a game of heisting up and breaking down 4 points. And if you're not good at that, don't go there. If you can mini-negate. So rather than going body lock, we're just gonna go body lock. Right? Just drive me, because you're essentially in a penetration step, right? It's the same thing. Head to the outside, try to get the knee, and you're just gonna force it up the leg. Right? Don't fall down. You're in your hands. So, you're here, I double, and he's staying on his hands. You see that? And if I let go, he's gonna heist this leg back up. I need to start over. So, if you're here, start going for the tight waist and start shuffling legs. Right? It's the same thing. And now we can work breakdowns. Now we can do all the running stuff. That's fun to show if you want to do that. Right? So if I get a little more pressure, I oftentimes can bring him back a little more and he will end up on his hands. Right? So if you drive in, you turn people with that. And if you turn people with that, they cannot stay on their side and on their hand. And then you end up here. Right? And it's the same thing. Tight waist, knee slide, shell. Take away one thing and we're gonna go from there. Nothing changes. Just look at Khabib. That's what he does. That's all he does. And then he's gonna maul people. Right? Just like Spencer. Nothing different. It's the same thing. So, once again, we start here. He starts bringing this back. I need to fall. Penetration step. Now I bring him back and I drive. Do you see what I mean by that turns him? And if he doesn't want to fall, he needs to post both hands. He cannot stay on the side anymore. Do you get the difference? So drive a little. Your body weight is on him, not on the floor. Never fall down with the hip. Do you know what I mean? Need to see it again? Good. Other side. So we're here. He's clearing this one. No. We're clearing this one. I'm ready to penetrate. Go through. Penetration step. And now drive. So we end up here. Keep this. Hold this. Shelf if you like. Bring him down. And we are in our rights. It's the same thing as before. Nothing changed. See those positions again? It's the same thing. Good. Lacing the legs is optional. Get the double leg down. Right? But you don't want to deal with people heisting up from your double legs all the time. So you need to find a way to keep them down.
When you lace the legs, you control the knee also? Or is it below?
It depends a little bit on how long his legs are compared to mine. So I will not always be able to get the knee line, but if I can, I do so. One thing about posting hands to be able to heist. This will be a tactical decision on your part, right? Because if I get a sit down, am on top, hold it for 3 seconds, I get points. That's a sweep, right? It's the same thing for a takedown, of course. There's some different criteria, right? It's hard to score at ADCC, right? With takedowns, you need to have some things in place. But for most tournaments, it's all right if you just pin the hip to the floor, and that's it. So, of course, you can fall on your back and try to get a functioning guard back, and that's not wrong. But the question is it possible for you to give your opponent 3 points or 2 points or whatever for the takedown and still win the match or not? Because if you concede the position, you're going to give up points. If you don't concede the position and keep posted, you can still heist, try to get back up, but you're opening up a little more, right? So you need to make that tactical decision on the spot if you want to do that or not. But for practicing purposes, it's very good to never concede points. Never give away points. You want to play guard? That's fine. Defend the takedown, stand back up, and then pull guard. Whatever, but don't give people points. Right? If you don't mind playing guard, pull guard. Don't give him guard and give him points. Do you see the difference in the mindset? This will elevate the room because you really have to fight for it. And if you do it like that, you have to wrestle up from almost any sweep. You will not get sweeps easily anymore. And if people are not willing to come up and wrestle up, they're not going to get sweeps. Does that make sense for you guys? Good. So now, the problem. When we're in Ashi, and I'm going to do this side on purpose so you can see the other side. Now, if he falls this way, that's what I want, right? Because he cannot heist up. He needs to turn the other way, right? And this turns me too. Now the problem here is, it's not possible to heist forward from me anymore, right? I cannot penetrate on this one. He has forced the other side of the hip. Before, he was sitting down, even when he was heisting, but I was on this hip and I could penetrate up, right? But with the turn, he forced me on this hip side. So now I cannot forward heist anymore. So I need to backward heist and keep this laced here. That's a big difference. A forward heist is coming forward, right? Backward heist is going back. It's a small but important difference, right? So, you still have Ashi, and to break people down, and he's gonna go the other way. So I need to post this and come up here. So now, if he's still just sideways and on his knee, I can try to move forward and go to the double leg. But if he's too far away, and if he starts turning out even more, I need to grab the hip, the knee, sorry. Because if he tries to rip it out, I need to have control over the knee, otherwise he will limp leg out. So I need to control it, and if he runs away, I follow. I don't try to hold him there. If I try to hold him, he can pull out. If I just keep the distance the same and follow, then he will not be able to just rip up. But if I try to hold him, stay static, he will flee. You feel the difference? So, when we're here, break him down, to the other side. Get that, wide away. Now he starts trying to flee, now follow. Try to rip it up. And you can follow. That's no problem. So now, if I try to stay here, rip it up. Come on, run away, run away, run away. It's gonna be really difficult, especially if you're sweaty. Just follow up. No, we just need to climb. So when we're here, broken him down, comes up, run. So where we at? It's the same thing. Just a couple more steps. And yes, I can opt to not go double and tight waist for rear body locks and do 4-point breakdowns. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to play that game. But we've been playing around with double legs to ashi and so forth. So I want you to take the double this time and not ashi. And you can practice your shots again. So again. So this time, broken him down. If he stays on this hip, fine. He will not be able to heist. But if he starts turning and I stay, it's gonna be a problem. Yes, I can attack like entanglements, right? I can use that to attack the legs. Different story. Not the same thing. And today we're not gonna go there. We're gonna go, I wanna get on top. I don't wanna leg lock. Okay? And this is not an easy position to score a heel hook or a leg lock finish by any stretch of the imagination. So most of the time you're better off just heisting up. Secure top position. Good? So. He goes. He tries to run away. 1, 2. Hip would be 4-point breakdowns. Catch the knee, drop my knee. You can post to mitigate the pressure a little if you want to, and then it's the same thing again. Nothing changed. Good. So now, as with everything, if you can make it work, practice it with timing. Don't go hammock, go 20, 30%. And then you can go on. So let's do 30%. One continuous motion. That's right. So here, I need to come up. So you get the timing down. And then you can increase the pressure. Be mindful a little bit about directions, right? Just because there's no one there at the moment doesn't mean there is no one there in 2 seconds. So just be mindful, especially if people are really trying to kick out. Right? Don't do this. And don't do this. Right? As soon as you let go of the knee, he's gone. So you need to have a replacement system, just like climbing. You never let go of one till you have the other, right? So climb up this one to this one. Then you can go hip or knee. But you always need to have control over that knee. So it's like climbing. I'm here. 1, 2, 3. Questions? Again, does it make sense for you why this is important? I'll take that as a yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So every time that somebody gets up with a certain leg, I need to know with which leg I want to come up first. Otherwise it's done.
How do you feel that? How do you know which way, which leg comes up or not? Who knows it?
It's the opposite leg that you want to control.
Always?
I mean, if you got the ashi, it has to the other side, so that's the leg that comes up.
So if you don't have ashi because you've pummeled out before, then what? What decides how you can heist or not?
What hip to drop?
I'm sorry?
And what hip to drop? Because you drop them on one side.
Exactly, the hip side, right? So I'm on this side, hip side, and I have the same leg control. I can forward heist. But if I have this side control and they force this hip, I cannot forward heist anymore. I need backward heists. So the hip side decides how you're able to heist or not. So the problem is, if you need to make a conscious decision about it during the fight, you will lose. That's why you need to practice it in isolation with timing. Otherwise, you will not be able to pull it off. So that's what we're gonna do now. Don't go hammock because the mat is full, right? Especially with the running away. But what I want you to do is the partner that gets broken down to the hip decides if he stays, turns even more. So he decides what he gives you. You're not the one who makes the decision what you want. He decides on how he reacts. And of course, how good your timing is. If you're super quick every time, you can get the body lock quickly. And that's the end of it, right? So, if your partner's not quickly enough to always give you that, give it a little more time so you can practice the other things too, right? But the partner that is getting broken down is the decision maker in regards to the hip angle and on which hip he brings you up. And you have to time it and feel how you need to come up. And you will mess it up a couple of times, and then it will get better. First suffering, then it's all lovely-dovey, like always, right? So your partner's good, do more. Your partner's not there yet, do less. 2 minutes each, feedback after. So you need to be able to tell your partner if he was a shitty partner or not. Don't do the same thing every time. Try to make it work. Okay? Everyone got it? Go. Any questions that manifested itself? Yeah.
There's a position where he runs away, but where he squares his hip very hard. And it's hard for me to turn him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's running away. Catch him here. Stop. Yeah, here. For me to turn him, it costs me a lot of energy here to turn him because I don't feel the grip. I have a feeling I have to let go and take the back.
So two things. If you really cannot make that transition work, you need to body lock.
Yeah.
And from there break him down. Now, the magic to it is driving through him the whole time. So he needs to step, right? It's a little hard with the limited space we have. But if you really, like if he's running away, you climb up and you really penetrate in deep while you drive through him, it's going to be really hard for him to step out that far because he doesn't have enough time, because he needs quicker steps to not fall over right away. So then it's easier to get the second leg. But if you really cannot get it, then you need to body lock, which is totally fine. Any more questions? Good. So now we're connecting a lot of the things we've been doing yesterday. That's why I said the 1 hour yesterday was a little bit of a preparation for you to be able to make the things work easier today. Because yesterday we did wrestle up shots, double legs, single legs, Ashi gravity drills, and how to get from double and single shots back into Ashi, right? That's what we did. Now we're going to connect everything, right? So, if you don't know how to hand fight, don't use a setup. Broken stance. Be mindful of your hip position. You want to dip down a little so your partner doesn't shoot his shoulders in your balls, right? So if he's standing straight and I'm like, boom, then that may or may not be good for you, right? So bend down a little. Now you can work a little with the distance shots we did, like, ooh, good penetration steps. Now you drive in, but you cannot make him fall. I cannot make him fall. For whatever reason, like I don't get knee position, like it's just really, really hard for me to get the position. So we're blocking instead of pulling, right? Was here, couldn't get it. I block, I walk in, and I drop back into position. I have the second leg. I don't let it go. No, can break him down, right? Now he's gonna do everything to free this if he can. And he's gonna go back up. Now we're gonna be back in position. Can finish our double leg. Right? So we're connecting everything. So it's just shot, good position. Come up, cannot bring him down. Lock, get the second leg. If he falls forward and you roll him through by reaping, then that's no big deal. You can do that. But he kicks out. Oh shoot, I need to heist. Get position. He tries to run away. And I finish my double. Everything is fine. Great. And if for whatever reason that goes wrong, I can go back into Ashi again. Nothing changes. Okay? So that's why I said before, you need those connections into both ways. You cannot just switch from wrestle ups into Ashi pulls and sweep people. If you sweep them, you have to come up, wrestle up again if they're gonna heist away. You need both ways. It's not a one-way street. And that's how we connect everything. Good? Anybody need to see it again? Yes. So the wrestle up is clear, right? If we're a little bit better, he's gonna have a proper stance, and we need to like elbow pass, arm drag into position to open up, right? We drive to left, right, can't make it happen. Block, get the second leg right away. I have the secondary leg, the hip breakdown will be easy. But turn a little. But while I break his hip down, he will try to kick this out immediately. So, sentence. And now, see, he's not even on that hip anymore. I will not be able to force him. He will turn. Go up. Get into position. Now you can switch. Now you can break him down. Now you can go leg right, roll it. Position. Now you can do all the things that Sven did with you. And everything is fine. Good? Go. That's correct.
Because there was also that compared to the lift, not impossible. Like
There's many variations of it. You could go for the takedowns as well as the Ashi pulls. Multi-direction with everything you do. You have multi-directional attacks with double legs, with single legs, with Ashi pulls, with everything. Okay, there's some rare exceptions of course, but you always want to be able to pull the same move off in different directions. With variations, of course. It's not the same, but like the position you want to end in, or you have at the beginning is the same. And there you go into different directions. Are you familiar with the sweep single? Please raise your hand if you've heard the term sweep or swing single. Okay, very good. So we're gonna do a quick penetration step drill, so you just get the movement down. At the beginning it can seem a little hard, but I want you to get it down, right? So when I have my partner, you're gonna do it solo in a second. If I have my partner and he has this leg forward, we know we have the inside reach single, right? And you want to have the knee behind the leg, and we're in normal single territory, right? Sweep single is swinging around, or sweeping around. Some say sweep, some say swing single, right? And look in the same direction like he does. This has a couple of big advantages because almost all submachine counters are gone as long as you can remain the angle. Right? When we're here, you can get the head out to the other side, maybe do guillotines or back takes. You can Kimura trap me and do all sorts of things, right? But if we're here, how is he supposed to do that? It's really, really hard. So oftentimes with some shots, like the double leg, you get the shot first, and then you get the angle. With this shot, you get the angle first, and then you go into your mechanics. So when I go in, I want to sweep around here. There's a big difference. okay? This is not a 90 degree, but a 180 degree angle. So if you practice it, you can just place your foot to the outside, so your opponent is there, right? Place it to the outside, heist up, plant the hand. Normally it goes around the leg, but now you can plant it, bring the knee to the floor, and now you pivot onto that knee to completely turn. The position is the same. Drive foot, knee and shoulder in the same line. Don't be here at the moment, right? You want to do that to come up. It's the same from standing. When we're here, we're working. It's the same shot, right? So, turn 180 degrees. Swish her over the butt. Some people prefer live, some dead toes. Dead toes are a little better for swishing. If you lift it up and just pivot on the knee, you can do it with live toes, okay? Most ringer, like wrestlers, ringers. Ringer is the German term for wrestlers. Most wrestlers prefer to go dead toes because of the shoes. Okay, but you can adjust, right? So just do the motion a couple of times. And because you're swinging around, again, pay attention to your surroundings. Don't kick anyone. Need to see it again, or can you return? That's it. Good? Go. Just do it solo. It doesn't need to be perfect yet, but practice that shot. You want to have it in one continuous motion, right? And it will pay dividends because of the angles you get. So when I do it with my partner, it's the exact same thing. If this is his lead leg, I'm going to practice this side. The other lead leg, I need to practice this on the other side. The single leg is a technique you need to practice on both sides because you cannot always alter that, right? The better you get, the more you can play with the stance. But if you're not really good at it, then that's not going to happen. So you need to take what he gives you, right? So get good with both sides, but get one side down first. It's the same thing. So inside reach, foot to the outside, and I'm going to pull myself up. Now I place the knee behind his heel again, and I swing around, get the angle, right? This becomes a little easier if you do it quicker. The slower you do it, the harder it is at the beginning, right? So when we're here, and you do it a little quicker, like you can get it up. And you lace around here, get the second hand into place. From here, we're just going to come down off the shoulder and place the hand towards the floor. From here, my shoulder pushes forward, and I pull his heel into the pocket of the hip and lace it. Okay, shuffle it. So when we're here, and we're going to turn a little. So, in one line, I have my position. I come down with the shoulder into the crook of the knee, place the hand, push forward with the shoulder, and pull the foot into the pocket of my hip. This should put him on his hands if I do it correctly. Once I got that, I can grip the knee again. Does it feel similar? The difference was that we did it on this side the last time we did it. Right, so it's slightly different. Here, I have the leg on the inside, and I'm on the outside. I have the leg on the outside, and I'm on the inside. So now, if Will is naive and has his knee on the floor, right? Once we're here, it's pass off again, and I have my dribble. And from here, we're gonna get into all the rides that you've been doing with Sven again. Right? This is called the shove. Get familiar with it. It's gonna be really good. This is one of the things you need to do when people try to limb leg out of the position anyways. Limb leg escapes in MMA and in no-gi grappling are way more popular than in wrestling because we don't have wrestling shoes on. It's way easier to slip out, right? And this is one thing you should do against this attack. Come over the top. Now I'm not reacting, I'm forcing it, but if people try to limb leg, that should be your reaction. So there's a proactive and a reactive component to it, right? But now we're gonna go proactive. So just do that. Get familiar with the sweep single, break them down, get to the second leg, break them to the hip, and go into any right position you want to get into from there. Need to see it again? So, inside reach, outside step. Sweep around, right? Don't do it slow. You see, it feels awkward. Don't do it. And down. Pull up, push forward. Pass off. If I can get the knee, perfect. He's on his feet and I can't get the ankle. I still can break him down. I still can pass off. I can still drive. There's a couple of variations. And from here, you can go back into all the riding things you've been doing. Good. Try it out. Go. Good. So now you have some great secondary options for takedowns as well, right? You can always drive up to a standing single from there. You can go backside double leg from there. You have many options for good takedowns, okay? But let's say we stay with the shelf, but for whatever reason, we're not able to get the secondary leg. Right? And if we can't break him down to a knee, can't break him down to grab it, the secondary leg, then it's really hard to pass off into the double. Yes, we can climb up, do body locks. Yes, we can do different things, right? But now we're going back to the connection between the wrestle ups or wrestling in general and leg locks, leg entries. Because especially with the outside shelf, it's different with the inside. With the outside shelf, you have a direct gateway and backside positions for leg entanglements, which is really, really nice. So, what we do is the same thing. We're gonna go wrestle up, right? Get our angle, everything stays the same. I wanna bring him down, but for whatever reason, like I cannot get it. He's too far away. I keep the knee, I keep the leg, and I'm just pivoting around the leg. Fall back, bring my leg to the inside, and have a catch on backside heel hook right away. We come belly down for the finish, or at least like shoulder, top shoulder in front of the bottom shoulder. Because if it's the other way around, Villa's gonna backstep, and he's gonna stop, right? So when we're here, and Villa tries to backstep, he's gonna break his own leg, right? So it's way better finishing position. If you're not familiar with the heel hooks, just grab the heel, don't apply any mechanics, just enter the position, right? So, we're here, sweep shotting into position. I bring him down, shelf. I want to get the second leg, but it's not working. Or I just want to enter the legs. I pivot, bring the leg over, and go into my catch right away. See, I go belly down, forward to the floor, not the side of the face, not the nose. You don't want to roll over your face. Okay? You need to pay attention to your hip angle a little bit because you want to fall onto the other hip side. If you just go straight back, it will be hard to get your leg in. As long as you have the knee, if you don't directly catch his knee in your knee line, you can still adjust it, right? But practice it properly and pull yourself in a way that it works fine to bring the knee into the knee line. What I mean by that is when we have the backside position here, right? And I pummel in here and I don't pull enough, and we're here, like this is not what we want to do. It's either I need to pull him back a little, so like he falls into position. See, now this hip angle is a problem for me. I want to get onto this hip angle, and this brings his knee to the floor. Right? So that's where you want to be right now. If you have problems at the beginning, your partner is gonna have a relatively loose leg. He's not straightening and tightening it up. That makes it a lot more difficult. So he gives me the opportunity to just snake the leg in, bring his knee to the floor, right? You don't want to have the knee on the outside. You don't want to be here. And up there, you still have this, right? So just extend the bottom leg, recatch it, and everything's fine. So there's lots of information about the finishes from there out there, so you can always rewatch that or shoot me a message or do whatever. right? But try to make that backside 50-50 pull work, because it's one of the best tools from this position to go from relatively far off from a submission to directly into position to play with it, right? And if people run away, you still have the possibility for back exposure and stuff, right? Do you need to see it again? This would be better. So we're here, coming into position. I break him down, pivot, bring it over, go to the low set.
Would you advise walking a triangle after getting into the heel hook position?
It's not wrong to do it. I personally prefer to keep open feet, because if people backstep, it's easier for me to follow. You just need to be careful that you're aware of your feet position so you don't get countered. But if you lock it, you're a little more safe. But if you open up, you can transition faster. And I prefer to transition faster, because if you get into position quick, before you can get your shoulder position right, people backstep a lot. And if I have open feet, I can just keep it on the stomach and keep an inside knee position while they're backstepping. That's why I keep it open. You just need to be careful of one. Pull it as me, get into position, does it, falls into it, right? So what you need to be mindful of when you're here, right? Especially if you don't have the heel yet, is if people drag it across and clear the knee and get the knee itself, they can re-roll into backside 50-50 themselves. You need to be mindful of that. This one is not that big of an issue if you already have a good bite on the heel, right? Because then they cannot extract their leg the way they would like to. But you have to be careful about that. So, but when we're in position and we come in and we don't have good position yet to finish, and he backsteps, and I keep it close like we end up here oftentimes. But if I keep it open and I keep my foot onto his stomach, I can keep the inside space with the knee and still have the foot in place. And from here we can go inside outside or far hip, whatever we want to do from there. And it's just easier to follow, because we don't want to end up here. Now he can slip, now he can do things, right? That's the reasoning behind the foot position. But it's not wrong to close your feet from there. Just as pros and cons, and depending on what's important for you, you might choose one over the other. Anything else? Good, so I want to do one last thing. When you shoot in and people meet you with the hips and drive forward, you oftentimes lack the speed and the position to mitigate that. So they push you back on your butt. What do you do from there? From the double leg, it's pretty easy, because you just fall back into Ashi, right? So when we're here, and let's say I overshoot, like we're here and I'm not in good position, and he drives forward and just, have inside knee position, and we're just back into the play that we want to play anyways. So that's not that big of an issue, as long as you know that. It's harder to counter. But with the single leg, it's a little different, because you don't have an inside leg position like you have with the double leg. Because with the double leg, like my feet are still like on the inside, right? But when we're here, that's not the case anymore. Like in this case, both of my feet are on the outside. So if he puts pressure forward with his knee, I'm just gonna sit down, right? And from here, yeah, you can start trying to wrestle back up, but it's gonna be a tough fight. Does that make sense for you? So when people start pressuring in from here. You want to do a Manaris, right? You did that yesterday. So you're gonna invert in while moving back and using this shin on shin hook. And bring it up. Get your head into position, and you can go right back into backside 50 from here. If you're more of a regular ashi player, you should be able to use the push back to lift it up, and pass off to shin on shin. But you need to do a pass off from there. So that's the easier thing. The easier thing is when we're here, we wanted to shoot, he pressures back in. I lean, I elevate, and I switch shin on shin positions. And here, you're just gonna enter normal ashi. If you're a little more savvy or want to invert, and he pushes, you use that to invert yourself into position. And we're right back into backside 50. It's a little more complicated, but play around with it. Right? It's a very nice transition. And because people are in defensive wrestling mode, that gets hard to manipulate because they need to switch their mindset real quick. Okay, so play around with it and see if you can invert through and get the leg position right. Let me show it again. Yes. Okay. So, shin on shin once. So you're here, you have your position, you want to go wrestle up, but he, rushes forward, pushes in. You block the second knee, you lift this one up. You pass off, and you're back in ashi. But if you can, we're here, we're not going to block. We're going to V-grip. We're going to invert in and push ourselves under his hip. From here, it's just an extend and shot down with this side. And from here, you can get into backside 50-50 finishes. If you're not quick with your arm position change, this arm is going to end up here. If you can not let that happen, that would be great. So while you invert, there's a time to get that leg that hand out of the way. So while we do it, we're here, right? We're gonna come in, and now this one needs to move out of the way so it can chop and it's free again. You need to play around with the timing of that a little to get a feel for it. Because if you let go too quick, it's harder to go into the right orientation. If you're too late, you need to bring the arm out before you can connect the grips. Good? Try, go. Any questions?
I did have a question about the shelving, because we were covering the knee a lot of times, but is it also okay to push your forearm into the knee pit to make it bend? There's pros and cons?
It can work. It's not wrong, but I'm way more afraid of losing the knee. Tend to just bend it. Because if people are strong, that's going to be hard. But if you have the knee, and you have the shelf and people are strong, they're still not able to run away. Because in order to be able to extract their foot, they need to be able to bend it. And if they straighten it, and I have the knee, I still can get it. If they really straighten it, and they have the arm on the other side to bend it, that's when they can pull out. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can play around with it. There are some variations that are good. And I'd say that's one you can use from time to time, depending on what you want to achieve. But I would suggest for the beginning staying with the standard version because it's been proven on a very high level in wrestling as well. So. Anything else?
You already said free your arm while you invert, and you just said push with the other hand. Can you just briefly go over that because it's stuck?
So we're here, right? He pushes in. I bring this grip in and I'm gonna bring him over me. You see, that's the first thing I do. And while I bring my head in, I can start chopping and bring my hand out at the same time. So while you chop, and the knee still is not on the ground, you can still pull it up. As soon as the knee hits the ground, your arm is stuck for a second. Right? So if you end up here, and that happens to you, push away a little, still come belly down with one hand, and then come in. Right? But if you can make that transition, it's better to pull the arm up. If you do it too quick, you lose control. If you do it too late, you get stuck. So you need to find timing of it.
Get into position. This is your one job.
You're asked so many stupid questions, so at least you gotta take pictures.
Where's your camera?
You're not worthy.
Ouch.